Have you ever paused to truly consider what it means to exist in the grand scheme of things? It's a difficult concept to grasp without a relatable analogy, so let me paint you a different picture. Imagine history as a 24-hour day. If 1 second represented 1 million years, humans wouldn't clock into work until 11:59 p.m. and 59.88 seconds. That means all of human civilization, the rise and fall of empires, revolutions, and discoveries, has occurred in less than the final blink of an eye before midnight. And just like that, in this video, the entire span of civilization has already been represented in one fleeting moment, a single frame. You likely didn't notice because it passed too quickly for your eyes to register. Now let's shift our scale. Imagine the Earth's history compressed into a road trip across the United States. If the entire journey represents Earth's timeline, humans would only appear in the last few inches of your drive. And yet, even this road trip pales in comparison to the scale of the universe. The known universe itself is a newborn in cosmic terms, much like a sapling in an ancient, unending forest. Here's another perspective. If you've owned a car for 20 years and driven it regularly, you might put 250,000 miles on it. That's roughly the distance to the moon, just a one-way trip. Now consider the speed of light, which is astonishingly fast by human standards but laughably slow on a cosmic scale. At light speed, the journey to the moon takes less than 2 seconds, yet to cross our galaxy at this speed would take 100,000 years. Our galaxy is vast until you compare it to the observable universe. Astronomers surveyed just 5% of the sky to see what's out there. From that small slice, they captured 3% of the data, an image showing roughly 50,000 galaxies. Every dot in that image represents a galaxy, each one containing billions of stars and planets. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, is just one tiny speck in this immense ocean of existence. And if the Milky Way vanished, the universe wouldn't even notice. To illustrate, while you were looking at the image, I removed one of those galaxies. Did you see it disappear? Probably not, because it's such a small fraction of the vast cosmic tapestry. Now imagine this. If the universe stopped expanding today, it would take 46 billion years to traverse its observable expanse at the speed of light. But the universe isn't static. It's expanding at an ever-accelerating pace. This means no matter how fast we travel, we'll never cross it. Light speed is simply too slow, and the universe's scale will only grow incomprehensibly larger over trillions of years. Let's zoom in now to the microscopic. When you absent-mindedly scratch your arm, you shed skin cells by the thousands. A single skin cell contains over 100 trillion atoms. On that scale, scratching your arm is akin to entire metropolises crumbling and falling like rain. But the universe within us is as remarkable as the one outside. Did you know that only 30 to 50% of the cells in your body are human? The rest are bacteria, fungi, and viruses, forming diverse ecosystems in every inch of you. Of the 2 million genes in your body, only about 20,000 are human. In a literal and figurative sense, you are your own universe. This interplay of extremes, from the cosmic to the microscopic, reveals just how much of existence is beyond our comprehension. The universe behaves differently when we zoom in versus when we zoom out, and we live within a narrow band of space and time. It's what we know, and thus it's hard to grasp what lies beyond. Our brains evolved to handle survival, not to process these immense scales. Numbers so vast or so tiny become abstract, slipping through our mental grasp. But this shouldn't deter us. Instead, it's an opportunity to marvel at the extremes of existence. So now, I challenge you, think of an extreme. What does it mean to you? It's easy to think of humans as a supremely successful species, why wouldn't we? We've spread across the Earth, numbering nearly 8 billion strong. But consider this. There's another species that, like humans, overcame powerful adversaries by working together. Through cooperation, they became a dominant presence on Earth, with an estimated population of 20 quadrillion. That's roughly 2.5 million for every human alive. Many ecosystems depend on this species for survival, and without them, life as we know it would collapse. Who are they? Ants. Now think about the immense gulf between your existence and that of an ant. Your goals, perceptions, and day-to-day experiences are so vastly different that you likely never spare ants a thought. Without realizing it, you've probably ended the lives of countless ants just by walking. You know what ants are, what they do, and if you wanted, you could learn everything about them. But here's the catch: you don't need to. You could live your entire life without giving them a second thought, and it wouldn't change your existence in the slightest. Now, flip the perspective. To an ant, you are a total enigma. You're like a force of nature, unpredictable, unstoppable. Imagine trying to explain to an ant the concept of compound interest on a mortgage or the plot of a detective novel. It's not just unlikely, it's impossible. Their tiny minds lack the capacity for such abstract ideas. It's not even like trying to run modern software on a 1980s computer. It's more like trying to run it on an abacus. The hardware simply isn't there. As enormous as the gap between you and an ant might seem, it's microscopic compared to the gulf between you and a being that knows everything. Think about what it would take to have a deep, meaningful, and reciprocal relationship with an ant. Could you truly love an ant in a way that feels significant to you? Could the ant ever understand, appreciate, or reciprocate your love? Of course not. The differences between you and an ant are simply too vast. If the gap between you and an ant were like two people standing on opposite sides of a river, the gap between you and an all-knowing being, say God, wouldn't even be on the same map. It's not just oceans apart, it's galaxies. For humans to imagine having a meaningful relationship with such an unfathomable being is, frankly, beyond our comprehension. Even the analogy of humans and ants falls short of capturing the sheer scale of difference. What could we possibly offer to a being of such infinite intelligence? It's difficult for us to accept our limitations. So instead, we assume we're capable of bridging this vast divide. Or worse, we simply don't think about it at all. It's like a novice thinking they can take on a professional fighter without realizing the years of training and discipline required. The untrained often fail to grasp just how unprepared they are until they've experienced a small taste of the reality. Once they do, humility often follows. This same principle applies to intellectual pursuits. People can mistake themselves as peers to experts without ever understanding the depth of knowledge and effort required to achieve mastery. The more we learn, the more we realize how much we don't know. A humbling paradox. Another challenge to humility is our sense of time. We exist in the present, the latest moment in history, so we naturally imagine ourselves as the culmination of all that came before. But history suggests otherwise. We're likely just one step in a timeline that will continue long after we're gone. Many of our ancestors believed they were living in the final chapter of history, just as many do today. Yet the truth is, there's no evidence to suggest the last generations will be any more significant than the first, or any that follow. Humans also tend to anthropomorphize the universe, attributing patterns and intentions where there are none. This trait likely evolved as a survival mechanism. It's safer to assume the rustling in the bushes is caused by a predator rather than the wind. But this tendency also skews our understanding of the world, making us prone to overestimating our place within it. Human beings are naturally inclined to believe things that aren't true. This tendency, rooted in our evolution, helped us survive by finding patterns and assigning meaning to the world around us. Seeing purpose and agency in nature eventually gave rise to our belief in gods. But because we're so self-centered, we imagined that the universe exists solely for us, that billions of years unfolded as a prelude waiting for our arrival. This inability to grasp the extremes leads many to believe that the pinnacle of all existence, the ultimate source of knowledge and intellect, cares about the minutiae of their daily lives. They imagine it advising them on whether to go on a second date with Sarah, quit their job at the grocery store, or even where they left their car keys. Such thinking requires a limited imagination, one that assumes human beings are near the summit of intellect and understanding. That level of hubris is staggering. The pinnacle of knowledge and intellect cannot have a meaningful relationship with you, just as you cannot have a meaningful relationship with an ant. And just as an ant cannot comprehend your world, your thoughts, or your presence, you cannot comprehend the pinnacle of existence. even if it stood directly in front of you. You wouldn't even recognize what you were seeing. Perhaps most importantly, such a being, by its very nature, would have no aspirations. It would need and want nothing, including you. You wouldn't have the option to choose a relationship with it because it wouldn't desire one. If this feels like a disappointment, then the answer is to redirect your focus toward the people around you. Your fellow human beings are capable of having meaningful relationships with you. They need you, can understand you, and are able to truly appreciate and love you. These are the people who exist with you in the here and now, during this fleeting moment of time. That makes them rare and precious. If we were ever to determine that the universe itself is divine, then the divine wouldn't be a single omnipotent being, but rather the collective whole. In that sense, a relationship with it wouldn't just be impossible, you'd already be in one. That relationship would be shaped by how you treat others and how you interact with the world around you. Ironically, this aligns with the core teachings of many religions to behave with kindness and humility. Instead of clinging to the idea of a cosmic overseer watching and judging you, let go of your ego. Focus on what is tangible and real. You don't need to devote yourself to an omniscient character that micromanages existence. If such a being isn't real, it's beneath you to believe in it. And if it is real, it's beyond you, so worrying about it would still be futile. What truly matters are the people and relationships around you. They need you, they want you, and they can aspire to be more because they aren't the greatest. And neither are you. That means we all have the capacity to grow, to improve, and to help one another reach greater heights. Your time here is limited, so spend it where it counts, contributing to something meaningful and helping others move forward. What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments.